Hello, and welcome back to Lonely-ish Podcast, a podcast about loneliness. My name's Ish, and sometimes I am lonely. Happy New Year. A new year can often be a time where we want a fresh start, and we're raring to go to change habits. What if this year you wanted to feel a bit less lonely? One of the things people often say when you're lonely is, "Oh, you just need to meet new people. Why don't you join a group?" Well, that's quite intimidating, isn't it? And it can be something that's really hard to do. How many times have you thought, well, maybe I could join this group and, I've seen that club. And then you've just chickened out, or you've convinced yourself it's going to be lame anyway and just not gone. So I thought I would just do that. Go and meet some new people. Luckily for me, there's a local group dedicated to combating loneliness, the Northampton Loneliness project. I came across this on Instagram a while ago and was curious to know a little bit more about it. The post gave some information about what they did and that they were a bunch of creative people. So I got in touch with Jayk, who was a contact on the Instagram post, and arranged to meet him. So come with me on my trip to the Loneliness project. So I'm just on my way to Northampton Lonely Club. I'm a little bit nervous because I don't actually know what it will be like or what I'm going to sort of go into. Just have to go and see and take it from there. So I walked in and I went to the garden, which is where the group was. There's about 20 to 30 people there sitting, chatting away. And I recognised Jayk from his Instagram photo and went up and introduced myself. And then he introduced me to a few people who were in the crowd. And I then was able to talk to a few people who were kind enough to do an interview with me about loneliness. First person up is Kieran. So Kieran, can you tell me a little bit about why you joined this group?
Yeah, so I've lived in Northampton for the past 4 years, and for the most part really I just found I didn't really know anybody. I've been to a few open mics and things, but mostly me and my wife have just kind of kept ourselves to ourselves. And I mean, I've always been kind of a lonely individual anyway, and as a creative as well, I tend to create on my own, and I guess I just I don't know, it's hard to explain. I think the advert came up and I just thought, you know what, maybe it's about time I tried to do something with that, so I'm not just I don't know, I thought that maybe it's time for a change really. So I thought, I kind of expected the worst. I just thought I'm going to go in, it's going to be a bunch of people who I'm just not going to gel with. I'm just going to sneak out the back and never talk to them again. But actually it was really welcoming. I was surprised, not just how welcoming it was, but also how much other people are like myself, and that I could just vibe with them in that sense.
So when you say other people just like you, can you tell me a little bit more about that?
I mean, multiple things. So it's the fact that I have people who have similar music tastes, people who play music and write music and love the art like I do, people who are as critical about art and other things like me. And then also something I should probably have started with is that I have high functioning autism.
Okay.
And while not everybody is the same in that front, it's nice to meet people with other neurodiversities who at least have similar, who have had somewhat similar experiences, even if not exactly the same. So it was just, I think it was not just nice, but it's also quite good because I eventually brought my wife and introduced her, and she was even more sceptical than I, and yet she's got involved as well. So.
And how long have you been coming to the club?
Since the start, I think I was one of the first.
Okay. Can you tell me a little bit about an experience of loneliness that you've had and how it affected you?
I could go on many tangents. I think one of them is I have it at work quite a lot. So I'm a tax advisor, and it means that while the people I'm around are nice people, they're quite different. I've got people who, for example, they will show up to work several hours early just to watch the budget, and they're the kind of people who their interests, they have cars, they have promotions, they want to climb the ladder, and they wear smarter outfits, and then I show up as myself, and I'm with my Bruce Springsteen, mouse mat and whichever book I'm reading, and it means I stand out like a sore thumb.
So they're quite different to you mean?
Yeah, and the thing is, they're understanding people and they get it. They know I'm different. They know, but it doesn't. It also means it's quite lonely because it does feel a bit like there is always this wall that you just can't bypass. And I don't mind that. So you can live with it, but it's also at the same time it does mean that it is quite isolating, I suppose.
And do you find it quite hard to reach out for help?
I would say until recently, yeah. Until recently, I was kind of running away from a lot of things. So, there's the autism, there were things in the past, and all these things where you just you get on with it, just keep going forward. But recently, I found it just kind of hit me like a brick. And I just suddenly found myself just incapable of, I don't know, you know what it was? I'm 31 years old, and I had one day where I was just with my wife and watching TV, and I suddenly realised if I died tomorrow, my last day on earth was completely pointless. I went to work, I watched Bake Off, that was it. And so I decided at that point, I just realised I've got a choice. I can either do something about it or give up. That giving up is just kind of the extreme. So I actually recently signed up for therapy, and so I've been going through that quite recently, which has been helpful. It's been good.
What has loneliness taught you about yourself?
That's a really hard question.
Or are you still learning about yourself?
I think that, I think it's the fact that it's I'm not going to say it's optional, because it's not optional. Some people are lonely. It's not optional, but I think you do have the option to at least... God, I don't know. I guess it's loneliness isn't optional, but it's something you can at least try and address. And I think for me, I've just kind of accepted I am lonely. That's what I'll always be. I'll be nothing else. I am just on my own. The world is against you, but actually, I've tried, and I found a way somewhat out of it. I wouldn't say out, maybe at least I found a way around it, a workaround. It doesn't work for everybody, but for me, I guess that's what I discovered. I don't have to be like this.
So going on to that a bit is, what strategies and habits do you use to help you cope with your loneliness?
First off, music. I listen, I write, I play, I sing. My wife always calls it like tunnel vision. She always says that, like, when, for example, she'll be telling me about her day at work and whatever, but if the radio is on and there's a song playing, I'm too busy picking out what I like, dislike about it, and that I kind of forget. And I find it helps when I'm stressed out, when I'm feeling particularly lost. It helps. I also recently I've found trying to just breathe. But that can be hit and miss. Sometimes I find breathing just becomes panicking, but
Okay. And how would you sort of describe your loneliness when it kind of hits you, if you can describe it in a few words?
I think the best way I can explain it is it's almost like being hit like a brick wall. I think for me is my head kind of runs at 1,000,000 miles an hour, and it feels like almost like a hurricane going through your head, constantly spinning around non-stop, and then suddenly everything stops, but it's almost like someone's replaced a hurricane with a brick, and that's it. It's immovable, it's unbreakable, and you just shut down. And I find I'm unable to focus, unable to you just exist at that point, and that's where for me, my day's ruined at that point. I can't seem to so my idea is I try not to get to that point, but it's very difficult.
So it's quite a powerful thing for you, how you feel?
Yeah.
Okay. What advice would you give to someone who's feeling lonely right now?
It's really hard because the problem with giving advice is, at best, you could be giving good advice, but it's not for that person, and at worst, you could come off as really naive and very the kind of people who just go, cheer up, it might never happen. I think that's a terrible thing to say, because what does that even mean for starters? I think if I had to give any kind of advice, I would say probably first off, don't give up. Like, while there is plenty of things telling you to give up, and it's definitely like an attractive idea, I wouldn't give up. And even if it means just trying something ever so slightly different and just seeing, and it might not work, it might be even worse, but just try it. You never know.
So, thinking about what Kieran said, we often think that something will have the worst outcome. As I mentioned before, it seems that it's a common thought that stops us from doing things, like we talk ourselves out of the idea. Why do we not go with, I'm going to have a great time? This is likely due to the way our brains are wired to perceive danger and look for threats from back in caveman times. So we anticipate things negatively by default. It's literally our first thought. It's also easier to stay in your comfort zone, isn't it? Yet Kieran had a great outcome. He was surprised and found some people he gelled with and met some like-minded individuals. Listening to the way he described himself at work, his co-workers wearing suits and fitting into the corporate world, while he had his Bruce Springsteen mouse mat. This small detail highlighting how fundamentally different he felt from those around him, describing a wall between them, reinforcing his sense of not belonging. And then his realisation that he wanted more from his life than watching TV marked a turning point for him. He recognised a deeper longing for meaning beyond his daily routines. Kieran also spoke candidly about accepting his loneliness. He understood that he faced a choice, to remain passive or to take action. By choosing to act, he discovered what he described as a workaround, a way to navigate his feelings and move forward in life. His feelings of loneliness were like being struck by a brick, an experience so abrupt and overwhelming that it brought him to a complete standstill. During such times, he would shut down emotionally and withdraw from his surroundings. What helped Kieran regain his momentum was engaging with music and practicing breathing exercises. So these things helped him to cope with the intense feelings that accompanied his loneliness. Kieran also made an important observation about the subjective nature of loneliness. He noted that the ways people manage loneliness are deeply personal. What works for one person may not be effective for another. However, he emphasised the importance of perseverance and the need not to give up when seeking relief from loneliness. The next interview was recorded in a bit of a louder environment, so may be harder to hear. I have tried to edit it in a way that will make it a bit easier, but hopefully you can hear most of it. So firstly, I asked Dan what had brought him to this group.
So, a couple of years ago, I moved into Northampton in 2021, and I didn't know anyone, and I spent the whole time at home not knowing what to do with myself, and eventually, I'm a musician, so I discovered there was some open mic nights in the area, and normally I was going to MK all the time, Milton Keynes, and I thought there must be something closer by. Then I heard there was one at the Garibaldi, so I went down to the Garibaldi, and I bumped into an old school friend. When I saw him, he goes, "Oh, Dan, I'm part of this club called the Loneliness Project, and come and join us. Like, if you want to for a drink after you finish playing." So I did, and sure enough, it was like it's history from then on. I've been a part of the club, and it's helped me because I think it's given me a purpose each week, something to look forward to. When you've got nothing on, when you live by yourself, you've got nothing really to look forward to during the week. And Monday Club was it has helped me. It was there, something to look forward to, you know.
Yeah, that sounds good. Asked Dan to tell me a little bit about his experience of loneliness and how it affected him.
So, as I said, I moved in by myself, and I was in a job I didn't like. And when you're in a job you don't like, you get miserable. And it was kind of a double-edged sword for me. Loneliness, and I knew I was miserable because of the job I was in. And it resulted in me thinking, I don't want to shed my miserableness, Is that the word? Is that a word? I don't want to shed my miserable feelings on someone. And so I thought...
So you didn't want to burden someone else?
I didn't want to burden someone else.
Yeah.
And I would sit at home then thinking, what do I do with myself? I've learned new songs from the guitar. I've become part of an open mic night community. But it wasn't satisfying because these people aren't my age, and I wanted to get better at talking. I wanted to meet more people, expand my connections. But I just felt lonely because I didn't want to burden other people, basically.
Okay. So just to follow up on Dan's comment about burdening people, I just asked him to explain a little bit more about that and what he meant.
But what I have experienced is if you're talking to someone and you're coming out of all negative stuff, that person won't want to talk to you.
Okay.
And if you're in a happy atmosphere, why would you want to? You don't want to bring a group down. If the talk is really happy, and all you feel you can contribute is sad stuff, then why? Then don't put yourself into the conversation.
So it sounds like what you're saying is when you talk about burdening people, you didn't want to bring them down with your feelings of negativity.
Yeah, I didn't want to bring the vibe down. Yeah.
Okay. I then asked if Dan found it hard to reach out for help.
I didn't know who to turn to, basically. Yeah. So not that I didn't find it hard to find. Well, I did find it hard to help because I didn't know anyone to go to about it. I could go to my dad and his wife and my mum, but they could only help me to a certain extent. They could tell me to be happier, but because I don't know who to go to elsewhere, it's like I can't really become a happier person because I don't know how to. I don't know where to start.
I then asked if, from the experience of loneliness, what had Dan learnt or what he was still learning, perhaps.
You know what? I think I'm still learning. So I still can be a miserable person sometimes. Sometimes I talk to someone and I'm midway through conversation, but because I'm not providing an adequate or happy enough conversation, they turn around and talk to someone else. It kind of taught me that I need to develop my skills in chatting to be more interesting. And when I'm more interesting, that's what I believe, then more people will be willing to talk to me more. And it's a really strange phenomenon for me. And it sounds really backwards, I know, but I work for Disney. Obviously, Disney is one of the happiest businesses out there, whatever, or supposed to be. Allegedly. And I work on a cruise ship, so I'm with the cast a lot of the time. And I was talking with them, and even they turned away from me, and I was talking about something happy. So I thought, okay, I need to work on myself in a way that makes sure I can project happiness the same way they can, and continue a conversation the same way they can to keep them interested.
Do you not think maybe they should listen to what you say?
There's a part of me that says they should listen to what I say, but at the same time, I understand that if you're boring, if you're in a happy mood and you're talking about something that could bring the mood down, you're talking about something that's too long-winded, you don't want to listen to that, or they don't want to listen to that. So I completely understand why they would want to go and talk to someone else to keep their mood up. Because everyone wants to be happy. No one wants to feel sad or be brought down, do they?
Then I've asked Dan to describe his experience of loneliness in a few sentences.
When you feel you've got something to say, but you can't project it because you haven't got anyone that you can relate to or talk to about it. You've got your family to talk to, but that's it. But the family will most of the time always be there for you. But sometimes you need that. You need to branch out, and sometimes a club like this is what you need to be able to make that branch out.
And finally, I asked Dan, what would he say to someone who is feeling lonely right now?
my advice would be find something that you love, a hobby. If you love talking, find debate club. If you're a musician, go to open mic nights or go to other places like that. And eventually you'll find your niche and you'll find your group within those places. And if you start going to those people, you'll expand your connections, and once you expand your connections, hopefully you won't feel lonely anymore because your week will get busier and busier.
Dan's experience highlights the challenges many face when seeking support, particularly the uncertainty about where to turn or how to begin. As a musician, discovering the group provided him with a renewed sense of purpose and a strong desire to connect with others who shared his interests. This was a significant turning point for Dan, offering both motivation and a tangible way to expand his social circle. Dan was initially reluctant to share his feelings of loneliness, fearing that he might burden those around him or put them off. This hesitation is notable, especially in light of research indicating that emotions can be contagious and that loneliness has the potential to ripple through social groups. His concerns about being perceived as uninteresting also resonate with many of us. The worry of not being engaging enough to attract conversation is a common experience. How many of us have felt that? I know I've thought that sometimes. It raises a question of how accurate these self-perceptions are and whether they are something that we can actively change. Perhaps it's worth reframing this perspective. Most people lead relatively mundane, ordinary lives, punctuated by moments of excitement or meaning, such as achieving a milestone or dream goal, like getting that dream job, going on an exotic holiday, or having a child or getting married. But it's actually these special experiences that bring value and purpose to everyday life. Besides, it is natural that not everyone will connect with us, just as we do not always connect with everyone else. Sometimes people may turn away if their attention wanes, a behaviour most of us have probably exhibited at one time or another. Has this happened to you? How do you deal with it? Or have you done this, and can you do something different next time? Ultimately, Dan's story centres on the importance of having others to talk to and demonstrates that pursuing personal interests can be key to finding like-minded people and building genuine connections. And lastly, I interviewed Jayk, who was the founder of the Northampton Loneliness project. I just need to point out, it does get a little bit noisy in the background for some of this interview, so apologies for that beforehand. So, Jayk, first question.
Yeah, go for it.
What made you start your loneliness club?
Combination of factors, I think. Fairly simply, I always had a lot of friends of my life, which has been really nice. But about 18 months ago, maybe 20 months ago, I realised that I was quite lonely in a creative sense. I'm a very creative person, so it's quite a big part of me that I was not building on or involving myself in. And I didn't have the right group of people around me that shared the same values as me and wanted to build on their creative side. So whether that's music, painting, art, film, whatever. So it was a way of I reached a point of desperation that I needed some new friends that helped me build on that.
Okay. So how did you do that?
I very candidly put on Instagram a black post with some white text on it just saying I want to start a project where I meet other people in the local area who want to be creative. So I think it just said I want to meet musicians, I want to meet people who do photography, people who paint, and meet up and talk and work together.
Okay.
And it somehow, I wouldn't say it went viral, but it definitely got shared in the right places. And as it turns out, there were a few people that felt similarly, and they bravely turned up to a pub on a Monday night to meet someone they didn't know and go, and it went from there, I guess.
So, not that it's about numbers or anything. So, how many people sort of came initially?
So on the first night there was 5 of us, including me.
Okay, so that's a fair number. Isn't
That was a really good turnout.
Yeah,
I was stoked on 5 people, and it was a really good mix as well. Like everyone was a musician immediately, which was cool. So we all had something to say about music, and they were just really lovely people who, felt similarly. They didn't have people around them that either wanted to make music together, or didn't have people around them, or didn't have maybe their own. They didn't know how to go to that next step creatively. So they played music or whatever. They didn't know how far they wanted to go, or how far they could go, or what they wanted to create. And it was like immediately a really good group. And it was like, oh, okay, cool. That was really easy to find people that I immediately got on with. It was a real surprise. Shout out to those 4 people that turned up initially, who are all still part of it as well.
Yeah, that's amazing, isn't it? Yeah.
18, 19 months on, they're still here, still see them weekly.
So from that 5, you said, how many approximately do you think you've got now?
We have 42 official in air quotes members. So that's 42 people who are part of our WhatsApp community and Discord.
You got a Discord?
We do have a Discord, just because WhatsApp is notification hell. So you need somewhere to put things.
And I suppose you can do things like upload your photos or music.
Yeah,
and stuff
exactly
like
that, right. So it's just a really nice way to share. I've just done this song, or I've just done a draft of this, or I just watched this film, or have you heard this song? So we've got different channels for various kind of discussion points. So in addition to the 42, I think we've got like friends of Lonely Club. So we've got a couple of other collectives that we work with. There's a local collective called Avoid, who help bands get gigs, and they've just.
Do they have a magazine?
They do, yeah. You might have seen it. Yeah, they're doing really good things. So we've sort of we collaborate with them a little bit, and we've got big plans to kind of work with them over time. And there's some crossover. There's a few members that are part of both, which is really nice. And then we've got kind of friends and siblings that join us irregularly, that aren't necessarily part of the WhatsApp because they live 120, 200 miles away, but they come here regularly enough for me to be in contact with them. So, and I think if you count those, we're up to like nearly 60 members.
Yeah, so you've got it sounds like you've created a real strong online community as well as in real life as well.
I think while the online side of it's really nice, and it's kind of a given, you sort of have to have that anyway now. One of the reasons I believe we are so lonely is because of the online stuff. So one of the things I sort of stipulate at the beginning is that we meet weekly.
Right,
So we meet on a Monday here at the Garibaldi at 7, and we have a couple of pints or coffees or whatever it is, and we get a pretty good turnout for a Monday night. We're usually at between sort of 10 people and 18, 19, 20 people on a Monday, which is pretty mad for a bunch of people that work full time and have to go to work the next day. So that's I think without that we wouldn't have the closeness we have, because it's not compulsory. Nothing we do is compulsory, but the fact that we do meet up and everyone turns up here and there is so lovely, and just really community building. I think you can build a community online, but actually to combat loneliness specifically, which is the word I tend to use, combat loneliness, having that physical connection and physical talk is so good. And it's really weird when there's a few people that turn up every week, and if I don't see them that week, I really notice it. I'm like, oh, I've really missed you being here, or I really missed your presence. So that yeah, that physical connection is really important. And then at the weekends we do what I probably wrongly label extracurricular activities. So we have, aside from the weekly meetups, we do a lecture series where we individuals take time to write a lecture and then present it to the group. So we will learn something about either a band or a genre or an artist that we didn't know, or a culture that we didn't know about.
That's interesting.
It's like mind-blowingly interesting. Like, just the stuff I've learned is insane. We go to gigs together, which is really good. So we've been to all over Northampton, we've been out to London, we've been to Birmingham to go and see gigs, and we have film nights where we all watch a film together, whether that be a cinema or someone's house. We have cocktail evenings. We have all these meetups, and we've had production days where we all meet up and produce a song together. And you know, when you've got 12 people trying to produce a track in one room, it's chaotic, but it's so much fun, and that's exactly what I wanted. Yeah.
Because you talked about not having that supportive, creative network.
Yeah, it's I do have friends who are musicians, and I do have friends who are really creative. In fact, all my friends are fairly creative and or musicians, but either they live 2.5, 3 hours away, and as you get older, that 2.5 hour drive becomes a weekend long ordeal, and when you see them, it's less about making music and more about just catching up and being with your mate. Or, you know, you just, your particular artistries don't line up, or that doesn't work for you guys. So it was more that I knew those people were local. Northampton's a really happening place, and there's loads of music and loads of creative people, and I just wanted that to be easy. Because I think a lot of the time, certainly with creative endeavours, it's really difficult to do it unless it's easy to do it. Because if you make the process efficient, it motivates you. So if you can go and see your mate who lives 2 doors down or just across town, you can go and make a song like that in an evening.
Yeah.
Whereas, you know, if you're planning on working with someone who lives 5 hours, 4 hours away, it's not as simple, you know. So yeah, it was yeah.
So you talked a little bit about meeting in real life was really important. So one of the questions I was going to ask you was, why do you think people are lonely, and specifically younger people seem to be the loneliest now?
Yeah, I think that's, just to pick up on that last point, I think it's really interesting because there was a huge focus in the early 2000s on old people being lonely, right? And the reasoning for that is fairly obvious. You become lonely because people die, move away, have families, and some people kind of fall through the cracks. And I know that there's been a big push from people like Care UK to kind of push these programs forward, where people go to meet with them at houses. They meet with an elderly person each week to build on that. But you're right, it's really prevalent with like 20-year-olds. I could be wrong, but I'm sure I read somewhere 45% of 20-year-olds say that they're lonely on a regular basis, which is so odd. Because when I was 20, I wasn't lonely. I had loads of mates, we were doing stuff all the time, and I'm sure that was more common 10, 15 years ago when I was 20. But now I think I think COVID had an impact, right? You mentioned this in your previous podcast. I think COVID had an impact in, if you spend nearish 3 years on your own, your body weirdly gets used to that, but your brain doesn't, right? And I think people became, against their own will, a little bit lethargic about doing things, or at least a bit hesitant.
Or it was more of an effort, wasn't it?
Yeah. And I don't know if that was something that was like a learned response to just being shut down for 2 or 3 years, because I recognise that was just a huge overhaul to anyone's life, and will be studied for many years to come. I'm sure it was, you know, one of the biggest things that's ever happened. But I think the reason why young people are lonely is because they are on social media more, and that might sound like a real cop-out kind of grifty answer that's like it's their fault, but it isn't. It's more like, I think social media has got its claws in all of us. It has.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I'm doom scrambling.
Exactly. We're all doing it, and I do it, and I catch myself doing it, and I just get, it's like I get so annoyed about it. But it's an addiction, right, that people have to fulfill, and the younger you're exposed to that, a bit like smoking. If you're exposed to smoking at 14, it's a lot harder to give up than if you're you have a more of a rational brain at 30 to say no to things like that, right? So I think young people are just stuck indoors looking down at their phone, but also, and that's social media, and then there's COVID. But I think there's another thing is that and this might get maybe more political, but I think we live in an era or we live in a time where work is people don't get paid enough, so people are working way longer hours than they perhaps should do. People are working much harder than they perhaps should do for a crap wage, and you get home in the evening and you've got no energy to do anything. You're wiped out from all the 800 emails you've had to send that day, or you're massively underpaid, so there's not enough money for you to go out and be social, and everything's more expensive now. It's just going out for a meal with your friends can be quite a lot of money fairly quickly and quite easily. So it's like, I think it's a combination of things, and I think it's just young people have been kind of born at the wrong time with all the wrong things there for them, and it's easy to be lonely. Like, it does require effort to go out and do stuff, and I think this has been prevalent in the dating scene for a long time. You talk to people who are single in their 30s, 40s, 50s, and it is harder to meet new people, right? It's easier to make friends when you're 3, because you'll go up and just talk to another 3-year-old and you'll go, can I play? Yes, usually is the answer. You don't do that. You can't do that when you're 34, really, right? It's not as easy.
No, it's not, is it?
And I think my point is, actually you can do that when you're 34. I think you actually can do that. It's just the social stigma around that is enormous.
So talking about stigma, can you explain a little bit more about stigma maybe that you experienced about being lonely, as you just mentioned?
Yeah. Again, listening to your initial podcast, you spoke about men and women having different perhaps gauges of what loneliness is.
Yeah, there does seem to be a gender difference in the research.
Yeah, and I think the group we run is actually more, and we're going to be careful because there's lots of people who are trans or non-binary, but I think there are more male presenting people within the group than there are female presenting people.
Okay.
It's nearly equal, and I'm not sure it denotes anything at all, really. I would say I've got lots of male friends, obviously, as being a man I think you tend to. Actually, I think it's more prevalent amongst men in my experience, right? But like you said, we just don't talk about it. And men don't talk about things, and that's changing, which is great. But I think the stigma amongst men is that, you don't want to admit to what is perceived as potentially a weakness.
Yeah.
And obviously it's the other way around. Actually, if you can admit to something like being lonely, that's not a weakness. It's, in my view, a massive strength, because it means you're taking ownership for your actions and then hopefully doing something actionable that
you're aware of the problem, you can take some action.
You can then
Makes sense,
exactly that. So I don't think I received any stigma around it. I try and I'm not like the biggest, I don't really care what people think sometimes I do, most of the time I try not to, right? You're a counsellor, and I've had my fair share of counselling and therapy throughout the years, and I think that's really helped me understand not just who I am, but also what I need to do to fix who I am, if I want to, or certainly fix the things in my life that I perceive as negative. So I didn't receive any. I don't think I've ever felt stigma around it. My trouble was recognizing that loneliness was the problem. And luckily I've got a really supportive partner who basically helped me to that realization and said, well, perhaps you are lonely. Perhaps you just don't have people around you, or enough people around you that want to talk about this stuff. Because we get, obviously, I love it to bits, and we have great conversations about music and all sorts, but sometimes you need more. Sometimes you need that community around you. I have had, interestingly, friends, and I won't name them, but I have had friends who initially thought, what the hell are you doing? This is really weird and perhaps a bit cringy.
Really? Okay.
But they've since they've since come around and said, I'm really sorry. Like, I initially thought this was a bit strange, but actually what you're doing, and they've seen what we've done. They've been here when we've had the crowd. They've been like, this is amazing. So sometimes people don't like change, and sometimes people don't like what's new, and sometimes people don't like seeing someone do something that is a positive thing because they didn't. It's more of a projection, if you like. They're sort of more like, oh, I wish I'd done something like that. Or they're going, I want to do something like that, but I'm scared of the stigma, the social backlash or whatever, or perceived social backlash. And so it's like more of a, oh, I would never do that. And actually they've come, like I said, come round in a year or so's time and said, this is genuinely amazing what you've done. And yeah, so stigma's a funny one because I'm probably not the best person to talk to about it. It's difficult to talk about. If you're lonely, then I'm sure you have much bigger problems to work on than what do people think of my loneliness in a strange way, if you see what I mean.
But sometimes the stigma stops us from talking about it,
yeah,
or even doing something about it.
Yeah, I think that's the other thing is that, is with working out, being able to say to your friends, oh, I'm lonely, or I'm finding this difficult, and that I'm sure that is much more prevalent amongst female groups of friends or female presenting groups of friends, because they do talk more about their feelings and their worries. I think and I hope it's getting better. Perhaps now that I have a group of people around me that are really supportive and really open, and there's no judgment at all, that stigma's gone from my brain completely, and I can't even relate to it in the past sort of thing. I'm certain it's out there, and I'm sure people really struggle to talk on the subject, but anyone who's listening that is lonely is just admit it, like, and just say I'm lonely, and someone will listen. People tend to be quite nice, generally speaking.
So talking about experiences with loneliness, one of the things I'm asking people actually is, how does loneliness feel to you? Because it's always subjective.
Loneliness, to me, felt a bit like probably boredom, I think, and there was a study done some years ago now, and I can't remember who did it, but they studied the effects of boredom and how humans react to it, and they would sit people in a room with a button that when they pressed it, it would electrocute them, right? And there was nothing to do in the room. And what they found was that with increased levels and longer exposure to boredom, people were more likely to press the button for physical pain, because actually boredom is potentially worse to feel than physical pain. And so I think boredom was a big thing, having perhaps nothing to do or nothing to look forward to, especially in today's world where it's difficult to find something to look forward to. And I'm a big doomsayer myself, so that didn't help at all. But boredom was a big one, and I think certainly in my experience, anger tends to be the response to negative feelings, and I think that's the way for a lot of people. So I think my anger level is certainly higher than it ever, and it's a lot lower than it ever used to be now that I've, in addition to Lonely Club, done lots of other things to manage that. But I think anger and feelings of depression, which is something I battled a lot with in the past, as like many people have, but those feelings are way more prevalent when you're alone, right? If you can't voice or vocalize those feelings, or if you can't, even just down to distracting yourself from them, if you've not got, if you've got a Saturday where you're just alone from 8 a.m. till whenever you go to bed, it's very easy to just get caught in the same cycle of, I'm lonely, I'm bored, I'm angry, I'm upset, and the world is against me. Whereas if you're with a load of mates and you're making something or being productive, you end up with a much better feeling, and you're more energized and you're more motivated to continue that. So it's like, I think much like a lot of things, anger is a secondary emotion, right? So anger tends to come after whatever's first. So I think, anger, sadness, potentially kind of blaming the world for my issues and my whatever I'm experiencing, rather than looking at it and going, it's something I can solve. but yeah, boredom was a big one. Boredom was a real big one, and not having that ability to get what I wanted out of me, whether that be writing or making music or whatever. But yeah, I'd be really interested to hear what other people think of that, because, like you said, it's very subjective, and
we all have a different experience. You know?
Exactly that. Yeah.
It feels different to different people. So, I mean, you know, that's one of the things that's why I'm going to ask the question.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
And if people are listening and they're feeling lonely, what would you say to them? Not necessarily give them advice, but what would you say to them?
Yeah. You're not. It's a bit kind of contradictory, but you're not alone. There's loads of people that feel lonely, way more than you would realise.
Yeah, clearly there is, isn't there?
And I can prove it very easily, right? Sometimes it takes one person to do something for lots of others to follow. And if you're lonely, it's probably not a description, or it's probably not on you. It's probably not your fault that you're lonely. It's probably myriad other things. And I feel like if you, and I don't want to sound like, oh, you know, just buck your ideas up or kind of, you know, pick yourself up, because it's not that easy, right? And it isn't that, but it is that you aren't on your own, but you do have to take control and stock of the situation. Put yourself in uncomfortable positions to an extent.
Yeah.
You never grow if you're not in an uncomfortable position where you have to learn. Obviously, avoid physical harm. That would be good. But yeah, get outside. Find a hobby that you like, whether that be playing sport, or playing guitar, or doing puzzles, or embroidery, or anything that you like doing. I promise you that someone in your local area is also doing that, and it might even be that someone in your local area is already doing a club or holding a meeting where they do that, right? So football's an easy one, annoyingly, but football's an easy one. If you want to like playing football, go and find a bunch of people that also play football, whether that's seriously or not seriously, but you will find friends through that. If you like skateboarding, go and speak to other skateboarders at the skate park. I know I did. You will find common ground, and do that. Be that one that's like, come back to mine. Do you want to come back and have a coffee? Do you want this? Go and get something to eat?
Taking a risk and just extending a hand of friendship.
Exactly. Yeah, and it is that extending a hand of friendship where, and don't be scared of. I know it's kind of anxiety inducing, I know it's frightening, but don't be scared of rejection in the first instance, because it might be the second time you ask someone to do something with you, they say yeah, oh, I've also got 3 other mates that want to do this, or we do this on a Monday night, or we do this on a Saturday, why don't you come along? It is a risk, but without taking that risk, you never really, you can win or lose, and sometimes you might win, you know, and it's not like gambling, because it's definitely not, the odds aren't as bad. But it's about realising where your passions lie, because your passions aren't unique. Lots of people have passions, and there will be a field that you're into that lots of people are into. I mean, the list is endless, and there will be people around you that really want to do that. And sometimes it can be right under your nose. That it might be that someone you work with is doing this, and kind of work's a weird but kind of a good place to start. Talk to your colleagues, find out what they do at the weekends, go and hang out with them. Like, that could be a first step. Go to if you like, so open mics, we get involved in a lot of open mics. Go to the local open mic at the local pub. You will find people there that are either into music or into what you're into, and places like where we are in the Gary, they hold events every night where there's people involved with each other and meeting each other on a regular basis. And I think the final piece of, not advice, but the final bit of guidance I would say is put your phone down. Put your phone down.
That's a good one, isn't it?
Like, realise that you are bored. Realise that you are just looking through crap because for the sake of it, right? Because as soon as you put your phone down and you realise you're bored, you will do something about it. Because, as I said, boredom is a massive driver for motivation. And yeah, just stop looking at other people's lives, start focusing on yours, and do something about it that is positive. Because you can. It's not. It feels difficult. It feels insurmountable, but it actually isn't. You can just go out and do it.
You can do it.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
And if people want to join the Loneliness Project, do you have to be a creative to join it? Or?
No, not. Although that was kind of the way it started, it's become a lot bigger than that, and now kind of everyone is into music to a degree, right? So there's a lot of people who either play music or are definitely into music, so they listen to music all the time. So that's a pretty good in. I think most people are into music to some degree. So that would be a good step if you want to join. If you're really into music, if you're really into painting, if you're really into photography, but if you are literally just lonely and you want some mates who are nice people, because it's not just music I'm into. I can talk forever about anything. I love lots of things, and all the guys that are, and girls who are part of Lonely Club, they're so interesting and unique and weird and wonderful and neurodivergent and all over the place, and they're all so accepting, and they will just talk to you, because humans are really good at that, and humans live longer if we stick together. Humans live longer if you have more friends. Humans live longer if you're part of a community.
Yeah.
And you live happier. But yeah, if you want, if anyone locally is, I will say it's fairly local. There are people that come from London and Cambridge to NLP, which is nice, but it's easier because if you live locally, you can come to the pub on a Monday, and it's very easy for you to come to wherever on a Saturday night or a Friday night. But there's we have an Instagram page called the Northampton Loneliness Project, Northampton Loneliness Project. There is also, we've got a little record label that runs the site, which is records.nlp. Message me on there, and I will get to you, and I will send you all the details about where you need to go. I won't blast them out here because.
But no, it's great. So if anyone does want to join you, they're more than welcome to join you on Monday nights.
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay. Well, it's been lovely to talk to you, Jayk.
No problem. Thank you for having me.
All right. Thank you. Bye. It was really interesting meeting Jayk and seeing what he'd achieved with his project. He realised he was missing something essential in his life, which he identified as creativity, and motivated by this self-discovery, he decided to take a risk, ultimately creating an amazing community that now serves as a social lifeline for many people. A central emphasis of this community is on fostering real-life connections. This approach is fundamental to building a group that shares experiences and knowledge amongst its members. The opportunity for individuals to collaborate on their projects further enhances the sense of belonging and mutual support within the community. He shared some valuable insights into the nature of loneliness and the consequences it can have on individuals. The COVID pandemic had a major impact on how people socialise, while increased social media use and the rising cost of living have also influenced social interaction. These factors collectively affect the ways in which individuals connect with one another. And being the nerd I am, I looked up the boredom study. The experience of boredom reveals intriguing insights into human behaviour. Notably, studies have shown that some individuals would rather administer themselves electrical shocks than sit alone with their thoughts, particularly when compared to groups experiencing sadness. This finding suggests that certain people find boredom intolerable, seeking any form of stimulation to avoid it. For these individuals, achieving happiness often hinges on having a sense of purpose and meaning in their lives. While boredom can sometimes serve as a catalyst for positive change, it also appears to affect attention levels, raising the question of whether boredom is a contributing factor to feelings of loneliness. So, is boredom a factor in how you feel lonely? Jake's personal account of loneliness illustrates the complex mix of emotions that can accompany such feelings. For him, loneliness was not merely a matter of boredom, but also encompassed feelings of anger, sadness, and perhaps hopelessness, or a sense of lost agency. However, Jake's story demonstrates that it is possible to reclaim a sense of power by taking proactive steps. He encourages others to create opportunities for growth, to embrace discomfort, and to take risks, suggesting that action can be an effective means of overcoming loneliness and finding renewed purpose. Finally, his last tip is something we all know we should do. Put your phone down. So I'm just leaving now, and it was really nice to meet all the people. They seemed very welcoming. There's quite a lot of them there tonight. I just did a couple of interviews with people. It seems like they've really established that group, and I'm really glad I came, because I'm sure I'll go and visit them again at some point. The Loneliness Project serves as a compelling example of how the collective efforts of a group can achieve far more than individuals working alone. It raises the question of whether any single member could have accomplished as much independently, highlighting the unique strength found within the group dynamic. As Jayk pointed out, songwriting can sometimes be a solitary and challenging endeavour. The opportunity to share ideas and receive feedback from others proves invaluable, allowing creativity to flourish. Through their collaborative work, members have not only found an outlet for artistic impression, but have also developed meaningful friendships along the way. The project offers a welcoming environment for people to connect with like-minded individuals, the sense of community and shared purpose making it an appealing way to foster new relationships and reduce feelings of isolation. Speaking with Jayk was particularly inspiring, as his passion for the project and genuine desire to, as he put it, combat loneliness shone through clearly. And one of the most remarkable aspects of Loneliness Club is witnessing how a single individual's initiative can spark something much larger, evolving into a vibrant and supportive group. Jake's efforts stand out for their focus on fostering genuine physical connections, prioritising face-to-face interaction over online engagement. This approach has made a meaningful difference for members such as Dan, who gained something positive to look forward to every week, and Kieran, who discovered a group of people who truly got him. The club's growth showcases the profound impact that real-world community and shared experiences can have on combating loneliness and nurturing a sense of belonging. They've also created a record label, NLP, to release their music on, and teaming up with other local music groups like the Void Collective is great. These connections leading to more and more connections with a ripple effect combating loneliness. Now the question is this something that you could find in your local community? Or if there isn't one, can you start a lonely club? There may be others in your area that feel the same, and it just needs someone to reach out and make it happen. It all seems to link back to needing a tribe to maximise your life, like in caveman times. Perhaps this is still true. We need a tribe. Have you found yours? Let me know in the comments. My thanks to Jayk and all at the NLP for making me feel so welcome. I'm sure I will catch up with them for future episodes. If you enjoyed this podcast, please follow and like and all that jazz. If you know someone who might benefit from this podcast, please share it. Until next time, let's keep connected. Bye.